Hello. Excuse me. And I have my introduction page on the computer because I don't have access to a printer. So once again, here is my page with portfolio is in scrapbook format with multiple modes for sensory input. Just put them in order here with science and then general biology and environmental biology. Shows the mastery of learning outcomes with a variety of materials, nature itself, and supporting information from evidence. Should also say quiz responses and media. 98% of the things I got was already on the floor, so I didn't disturb anything. Several ways to be used in the future. To help my children, or I should say other adults that I know, supporting the cycle of learning, scientific adventures, different things when we go out exploring. So here we go. Just overall page, science concepts. This is my big, no, sorry, it's down here. I have the Rose-Gall diagram, which shows parasitic interactions. That's an example of cause and effect. And the above paragraph here from quiz responses show different science concepts and characteristics of science knowledge. Interdisciplinary approach. Concepts look at various factors, laws, like Newton's laws of motion. As we look at critical thinking, important when examining data or analyzing, as well as observation and prediction is important as well. Science concepts. A large oak leaf as an example of patterns in nature that shows change with energy by chlorophyll leaving the leaf. In one of my quiz answers that talks about diverse perceptions and various science fields that I've learned about growing up and at home. So each person has different perceptions and experiences that allow for different solutions and connections. This is, well, here's my hand. It's actually bigger than my hand. I believe it's oak leaf. Yeah, I'm just not sure what species. And I found, I actually matted it underside up because I thought it was easier to look at the pattern of the leaf structure. And I thought it was, I just think leaves are pretty neat. I think this may be my start of a leaf collection here. And these are different fields that I just learned about while growing up at home. Geology, I mentioned my dad was a geologist, botany and lapidary, I talked about that, and mineralogy. And then science skills, and, excuse me. It's an example of exploration and discovery. This leaf here was actually, my daughter got it for me and pressed it in her backpack and she likes to explore and run around the playground, and that's where she found that. And this is an example here. It's my notes and sketches, which was also a media assignment that I turned in, with the 7 steps here. And sorry, I got stuff falling down here. The other, let's see, I found chewed up pine cones that I thought was using reasoning and analytical skills is how that these were, because it looked very different, almost didn't look like a pine cone, and I drew from what I found outside. And the next page, science skills. Show skills through long-term study habits, discovery with different plants and organisms, as well as good practices and not harming the environment through analysis and reflection. Sorry, it's actually light reflecting off the tape I used there. While exploring, I found a snail hiding on a leaf in a shaded part of the yard, possibly for shelter. And so that's my drawing from the picture that I saw. And then the long-term yard study, which was also part of a media assignment, wrote some stuff down in October that I observed, and November is when we didn't get our first frost until middle of November. And December here, I like to look at all the different colors. December, there's not usually much, but I saw these tiny little yellow flowers still out. This is the one time where I didn't have it on the ground. And the same plant, but different location in the yard, is also tiny seeds. So it looks like dandelions. So they're wind pollinated and animal pollinated. And this is where I notated that probably butterflies and maybe bees or beetles. But I was interested to try to find out more. Science connections, and let me go to the explainings through notes and quiz responses, with also about Carl Linnaeus and well as art in nature. So here with my notes on the flower clock, the scientific nomenclature system, just some examples here. And it's important to classify organisms, to understand them, to keep them safe in ourselves and each of our environments. And technology helps us research more, as we got more categories on top of the kingdoms. And I go up to the colors in nature, science and the arts. Nature creates beauty, and how the changes of the seasons change with the green chlorophyll to make photosynthesis and other pigments. Pine needles, I noticed, don't really change it like that, but they pretty much always go from green to brown, and that's it. Get the next page, there we go. Science connections and different connections to culture and society and technology is where I get the carrying capacities, as I quiz response here. So I thought different carrying capacities and different factors that affect them are also affect our agriculture, our habitats. They can affect a lot of things, so that's why I put that here. And then also lichens, because they're a great bioindicator. And as we talked about with the air pollution, and thankfully we do see a lot of lichens and moss around here, so we don't have too much of hardly any. And then science and technology at responses here from when we talked about the HMS Challenger and finding more life in the deeper parts of the ocean, and how we are still discovering ocean life today. And then general biology concepts. I have examples from nature to show understanding of general concepts like season change, leaf structure, tree classification, and also lichens here. Not true plants, but epiphytes. That's a funny word. And symbiotic relationship, usually. And so I have examples that this is all, I got this off pieces on the ground. Some leaves here that are different colors of brown, it still really brings out the bright leaf structure here, the venation. That's the word I was trying to. And so, in talking about that again with the patterns, and then we have, this is my pine page, as I call it, since we have so much pine here. They change. Thought I just talked about that. Here's all my pine needles, bundles of 2 and 3. I actually found one that was all green and brown, that was on the ground. And then gymnosperms, which means they reproduce with the naked seeds and cones. And there's this is me and my daughter drawing pine cones. And of course they also offer food for small animals, as well as being wind pollinated and sprouting new tiny trees. General biology skills. Different media representing biology skills with sampling and data visualization. And the leaves are here, just an example of some of what I saw. Here's my quadrat that I submitted earlier in the term. And organic glitter, data visualization. Jagged leaf edge, smooth edge leaf, weed-like plant with white flowers, and largely pine needles. And then other general biology skills show with 2 different quiz answers about research and sampling, and another pretty leaf. So sampling, some of the different advantages here of studying organisms in their natural environment and seeing all the characteristics, disadvantages including the weather, or possibly seeing something uncommon and falsely believing it to be a common thing of the area. And then researching requiring a lot of knowledge collection, and I use the example here, aquariums, studying the process about bacteria and nitrogen to keep everyone safe and healthy consistently. And this is another large oak leaf, which I thought was interesting because it's kind of hard to see in the video, but there was parts of the leaf that was either fallen out or taken out, but it had, you can still see the leaf structure. Still see all the tiny veins, even though the leaf itself is, like, you can see through it. So I thought that was interesting. And then general biology connections. Another example of the flowers. Where'd it go? Quiz responses are an example of biology connections with products from nature and everyday science in local communities. So I drew the fruits and vegetables that we all use in everyday lives, that have lots of different benefits with each one, and talked about the gorse again, because they are an invasive species, and they also use, contemporary naturalists are working with communities and research, find effective ways of taking care of it without harming the native species or habitats. And I talked about fungi because they're important as decomposers, and another reason I talked about them, this is my drawing of button mushrooms that I actually found right there in our yard. I don't see them very much, but saw them right by our mailbox, and so they're there working in the background, so to speak. And then yeah. My other general biology connections, talking about knowledge of the connections with citizen science and techniques for lifelong learning, is one of my last quiz answers here with citizen science and lots of different ways that we can work to help with research and everything. And so zoom out here to see, as I wrote it kind of big, exploration, description, and explanation. Those are so many things that we can do with each one. Discovery and learning, finding new things, and then of course the details work, recording and drawing and sketching and video or photo, which I think that's where a lot of the memory comes in, is detailing it yourself. Then the process of doing, I think, is what helps commit it to memory, or at least for me. And of course, informal education, research, and like I said, no degree required for becoming a scientist, because there's always new things to learn about. And there's another leaf, just because I like leaves. I might start a leaf collection after this. And then environmental biology concepts. This is my recycling here. Different concepts, knowing about organisms connected in food webs. And as we saw, they're recycling materials in an effort to help the lands and the water. Here's my food web here, one of the media assignments where everything is connected. We have multiple producers and consumers and decomposers, everything coming together. And this is my bald eagle nest. Because we helped the eagles with the CFCs. That was also hurting the environment. And that was us helping. All we had to do was stop doing something, and we were all able to come together to do it. And then environmental biology concepts, and through our National Park Service, because I do live only about 20 minutes from a national park, Hot Springs National Park. I actually worked inside one of the attractions we have here for some years, and so a lot of the stuff I already knew because we are unofficial tour guides working at the attraction. Hot Springs is known for the natural thermal hot springs that are 143 degrees right out of the ground. It was the first land to be set aside, protected by the government in 1832, but it wasn't officially a national park until 1921, which is why we got to celebrate our 100th anniversary on 2021. If you go to their website, they have a video where we passed around this little LED candle, and I was one of the people in the video for their 100th birthday. But anyways, 4 different thermophiles that are known in the hot waters. This is the part I didn't know. We do have cyanobacteria, the algae, the thermophilic bacteria, the ostracods, and the nanobacteria. I put that as a question mark because I remember seeing, that's the website I looked at, that apparently there's some questioning as to whether the nanobacteria was either part of a different group or something about, like, there was some scientific debate on which group they were part of. Climate change in Arkansas is also a big thing, where it's averaging warmer now than it used to be, as well as the winters being warmer overall and precipitation patterns changing. See, and they also look at reports from NOAA, even in the National Park Service. And Here's my environmental biology skills. We have example of collecting and preserving specimens as my preserved leaf specimen here, where I pressed it and identified it. Then we have, there it is, environmental biology skills again, and represent important skills to be prepared in the field and lab while being safe and successful, as the field safety kit, field kit, all those different things that we need to be safe, as well as the common safety tips that are important. Long hair tied back, clean hands, do not approach wildlife, appropriate clothes. If you're inside, keeping the floor clear. And then environmental biology connections. Here we have represented by media, drawings, and connecting to public education, generational stories, and cycles about learning. So, as I mentioned earlier, as my amateur rock knowledge here, the volcanic obsidian, that is really cool to look at. I don't know where that came from. Naturally made glass rock from cooled lava, as well as, and there's my picture of a rock tumbling machine, and the generations. My parents teaching me and my sister and myself and my husband teaching our kids. Of course, there's other relatives, but going down through the generations, and we have all these different cycles that we keep learning about, that always changing and going back through these different stages. And then I have environmental biology connections. Again, this is the, like Smokey the Bear, I made my own little Be Berry Aware in Arkansas. My bear looks more like a Doberman, but that is the bear paw print, Ursus americanus. The black bears are the only bears in Arkansas. So all of these tips was not originally aware of. I got those from our Park Service website as well. Keeping your distance. Most bears will avoid humans. If there does happen to be an encounter, make sure you stay calm and waving your arms slowly. Traveling in groups, protecting food and kids, of course, but in a rare case of a bear attack, it even says, do not play dead, do not climb, do not, all these things in capital letters, because apparently it's been tried a lot. Of course, bears can climb. The alligator snapping turtle is Macrochelys tenminiki. I'm probably butchering that Latin name, but it is the largest North American freshwater turtle, found in most of south central U.S. and rivers and streams and swamps and lakes. They can grow past 100 years old. This website here is where I got some of that other information, but these turtles are the only known animal to use a, quote, oral predatory lure, which means their tongue underwater looks like a worm. It looks like a worm or larva. Now you know. This picture, why it looks a little bit better than my other pictures, that I did get from the alligator farm and petting zoo that we have here, and so that was right in front of their enclosure. So that was a picture I took while we were there, and that's how it came out. It's a snail, little goldfish or fishy, and some other little things I added in there. And oh, that's the end. Thank you for watching and listening. And one last thing I wanted to show. This is a leaf that we found, literally as big as the page. Couldn't find anywhere to put it. But we did find out that it is a maple leaf. I don't know from which tree, but I did not know maple leaves were this big. It's huge, maybe 6, 7, 8 inches across. And my daughter found it in our yard. It blew in from somewhere and wanted me to show it off to everybody that I could. So here is my large maple leaf, and that is my portfolio. And thank you for watching.